Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. We're going autumnal again today. Before that sort of real frosty weather comes in, we're going to have some more autumnal cards. The colours in the street now are just so lovely, and you get all kinds of reds and oranges and yellows, and it's just an amazing time of year when it comes to colour. So with that in mind, I'm bringing out all my nice autumnal colours today. Both of the colours I've used on the sample card are ones that aren't desperately popular, but this time of year really does mean that they can sort of really shine. So this is Cajun Craze and Wild Wheat. Okay, so a little bit of stamping on the inside as well. Okay, and I've used a combination of sets to create this today. Okay, so we're going to replicate this in an alternative colourway. So we've got the Changing Leaves bundle here. So there's a stamp set and there is a hybrid embossing folder that I'm going to show you how to use, just to get a single element rather than having to cut out the whole lot. So we're using that and the nice little sentiment there, nice and generic, so that it can go to anybody for anything. The background little postage panels there are going to be done with Leaf Collection. Okay, so we'll keep him out so that we can use him. And then our accent pieces, you know, the things that make the panel, are the perennial postage dies. And it's this one here that we've got to use. So there's a whole combination of these dies that you can kind of piece together and make larger backgrounds with. I've used it a few times for that, so do look back and have a look. So let's get cracking on this then. Okay, so with the theme, this was a really good opportunity to bring in one of my faves, which is Blackberry Bliss. So I've already die cut one of the leaves here, but I'll show you how to do the other one. I've got a few scraps here, so that's for the sentiment. I've already cut two of these, so we're going to cut another one from that piece there, and this we're going to use for stamping. And then I've cut a Blackberry Bliss card base, and then I've got a piece of Blackberry Bliss here which measures just over 2.5. So 2.5 plus a bit is 2 5/8, and then the height is 5 1/8. And then I've cut a piece of gold foil just a little bit bigger, just to make a border around that. So that's going to mount our little postage things when we finish with them. Okay, so we'll pop those to one side for the moment until we're ready to put things together. So it might seem a little counterintuitive to do things in the order that I'm doing them in, but there's a reason for it, so just bear with. Just going to get myself a little bit tidier here, just while I get myself organised. So this piece of scrap card is just big enough for this die if I hang it over the edge there, as long as the cardstock covers that cutting edge. See the raised edge there? As long as it's covering that, and just sort of here, then it's going to cut out in its entirety. Okay, so just bear that in mind, even if a piece of cardstock doesn't quite look big enough. And we'll just tape that in place, and then we'll cut another one of these out. Right, so I've got all my plates are all over the place because I want to switch between embossing and cutting. So let me just grab the top plate for that. Okay, and the background there, those three little panels, it's not continuous. You could do it continuous and then just cut out your pieces if you want to do that as a bit of a time saver. It would totally be quicker. However, I wanted to select which bits of the background I wanted to use. So by cutting the pieces first, let me put that on the magnet so that I don't lose it. by cutting the pieces first, I can actually sort of choose which bits of the background stamp that I want to use. Okay, so these three we're going to now use with our background. Let's put that out of the way for a second. Oh, got something stuck to my die plate. I'll get rid of that. So for these big backgrounds, I'm just going to pop it straight onto the work surface here. Basically, I can ink this up and then choose to use that bit or this bit, and you know, you can be a bit more creative with bits and pieces that you use. Okay, so having looked at the stamp, actually, I'm thinking I'm going to aim for these bits because these kind of have, because there's lots of large leaves, but then you've got this nice little detaily bit here, and then you've got this nice little sprig with the larger leaves up here. That's nice. And then different shapes over here as well. So those are nice little areas. Okay, so if I'd have popped it there, you know, you will just end up with a big leaf. That might be what you want. Okay, but like I say, you've got the option: stamp a big bit and cut 3 pieces from wherever you want, or cut it first, conserve the cardstock, and pick the bits that you want. Okay, all right, so that's what we're going for, and we're going to do that in the Blackberry Bliss. Okay, so we're going to get our ink all over this. I re-inked this ink pad, so it's going to come out really beautiful. Look at that. Whew, it's beautiful. I use it so much I had to re-ink it. And you're going to need some scrap paper as well, which you can see I've just been using. So you want to sort of pop these down and then not wiggle them around, if you know what I mean. So once you've committed, you've committed. So that one's going there. The ink will kind of hold it in place a little bit. That one here. That one here. So I'm not worried about all this excess ink, you know, but don't want to waste my cardstock. So then we're going to use our piece of paper to help us just press all over there. Okay, just some firm pressure all over that. And you know what, if it doesn't come out perfect, I don't think it matters too much either. So again, doing it as a sheet might be better for you, and if you've got a stamp positioning tool and you want that nice crisp image, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so then we can just gently lift this away. Okay, and we've got our 3 little pieces that we can then twizzle about and pick out the orientation that we want. Okay, and then this red rubber stamp we can just spritz with a bit of water and get that ink off. Just grab one of my little cloths here, one of these lint-free cloths, and then that will dry, or I can clean it off properly later, but just gonna get the word, whoops, move my whole thing. It's well stuck down to my little mat there. Okay, so there's my excess ink removed from there, and let's just get that off my surface. So again, just a little bit of water on there will get that off, because it's a nice, it's water-based ink, so it will come off. There we go, ready to go. Okay, so these are obviously very bright white, so we'll bring back our little scrap here and use this just to knock back the colour a little bit with our ink. So we'll just bring back that Blackberry Bliss there, and just a hint of the ink over the top, just to take back that bright whiteness. It's not going over all of it, and I'm not being particularly careful. I just want it to just be a little less bright, shall we say. Okay, there we go. So it's not necessarily neat and neatly blended or anything, it just helps take that off. Okay, so those three are ready to go, and we can pop those onto our layers ready. Okay, so I'm going to take this Blackberry Bliss portion here, and I'm going to layer those on. All right, and again, I'm not being too fussy about where these go. All right, and we're going to use our stamp and seal to do that. So I'm not too fussed about the order these are going to go in. So we'll just go with what it is and get those borders even. And if you just place them down and not sort of press down too hard, even with the stamp and seal, you're not going to, you can still move them around a little bit and lift them up, so it's not quite right. You just got a little bit of time, but obviously if you want to use wet glue instead, which will help you with some wriggle room. Did you hear my brain start thinking then? Did you see it? It kind of just started. Oh, that's moved as well. So I just want to make sure that that's going to look fine before I commit to it, basically. If it's fractions out, it's not going to matter too much. You might find it easier if you're not sure about lining things up on a pre-cut piece of cardstock. Lay them down on a bigger sheet and then cut it down. Either way, you'll get the same effect. And then we can pop this onto the gold. Now with the gold cardstock, the seal, because it's a non-porous surface, seal can lift off it. So I would recommend using your wet glue to layer onto any of the foil cardstocks. Okay, so mix this up. You don't have to keep with colours that you would normally expect to see in nature. That's going to take a minute to dry, so we're going to leave that to dry. Okay, and then we'll do the background of our card. So our trusty back scrap is going to be there, be handy now, and we're going to use this large leaf from that Changing Leaves set to do this, and the coordinating Blackberry Bliss ink for a tone-on-tone look. So I've mounted this on an E-block. It doesn't quite fit on. I think if you twisted it around a bit it would, but we're not using the whole of the stamp, so that's not going to be an issue. Okay, I'm just using this scrap paper to help me sort of protect my surface a little bit, and we're going to go off the page. Stem's going to go into the middle where it'll be hidden. Okay, it'll take a minute to dry, but hopefully you can, yeah, so you can see that when it's dry it should stand out a little bit more, but the whole idea is that it doesn't really particularly stand out. It's sort of it's there but not there, if you know what I mean. So again, I don't particularly want these to overlap, so I'm just going to pop that in, twist that round like that, and have it coming off the page this way. It looks nice when you take it off the page. Shuffle that over, and then we'll put some more in, and maybe we'll do this one going up there and the other one coming down, just so that you see different parts of the stamp. Okay, nice and easy. So 4 of those should fill in the vast majority of that. With some firm pressure there. And then you can just ink just tips, just to fill in any little gaps that you may want to fill in. If it just looks like there might be a little bit of space somewhere. So just using the tip of that. No one's going to know it was the same one, unless they're really going to pay attention and have a look at it. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Yes, you can. Brill. Okay, so that's how you can do a tone on tone background. Don't have to do it tone on tone. You could have done it in gold, anything like that, just in keeping with the card. Okay, so we'll get that cleaned off. Let's clean that off quickly, and let me just grab that out and give that a rub, because I just don't want that ink to sit on that polymer stamp, because that's just a fussy me thing. Don't worry, it's not going to do any harm to it. That's just me liking to keep it as clean as possible. Okay, right, so next bits and pieces then. So we've got a sentiment to stamp, which we can do now. So let's just pop that on. I'm just going to use the Blackberry Bliss ink again for that. Okay, really pretty. And then the coordinating die from the set is just here, so we can just, while I've got the die cutting bits and pieces on, I'm going to get that cut out now, which won't take a second, and then we'll work on doing our leaf, and I'll show you how you can use just part of that hybrid embossing folder. That's what they're called. So those are dies and embossing folders that work together. Just to say, you cannot do this if it's designed as a hybrid embossing folder. That's fine. Don't try this with anything that isn't designed to be used in this way. You will damage your embossing folders. Okay, so I'm going to take out my bottom cutting plate and my die adapter, because we're going to use the machine just to do some embossing, and these are thick folders, like a 3D embossing folder. So you just need base plate and the plate number 4, so that's this dark grey plate. Okay, so that's on standby there to roll that through. Okay, so I've already done the one. So for this then, I'm going to stamp my leaf on here so that it will fit it in. So we'll put it kind of like that. Just don't want the corners to interfere with the hinge. That's the only reason I'm trying to orientate it like that. Okay. Let's just pop that away just for a second before I pop my fingers in it. Okay. Then we're going to line up the die like we would if we were die cutting the whole thing. Very easy to line up. Just make sure that stalk's all in and the tip of that leaf, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to, and then you move it. Oh golly, it's one of them days today, isn't it? Right, let's try that again. Take that into place there, and I think we'll put one across the top there. I should say as well, when you're doing this, we're going to be putting quite a lot of pressure on this, So make sure this is really low tack. Take off as much of the tack as you want. It's only literally just to hold it in place while you set up your embossing folder. So the die should slot in over the coordinating design, and once you've got it in place, it should lock in quite, and you'll feel that it's locked in. And then you can close that up. Okay, and this means that we're only going to be die cutting and embossing this leaf. There's nothing else going on here, and it won't harm your embossing folder. I've done this a couple of times. It's designed to work into it and cut through the cardstock into that bottom part, and it'll just cut out that portion there. Okay, so let me just roll that through. It's going to look super cute when it's done. Okay, equally you could just use the die on its own in a similar fashion. You just make sure you take that one portion in place, that's all. Okay, but I wanted to use the embossing folder as well and add the texture. Okay, so I might end up with a few little snaggy bits there, but other than that, it's going to come out just fine, and you'll end up with a lovely textured leaf. Okay, right, so that's done with. So of course we're going to jazz him up a little bit with my trusty scrap here. That's definitely been well used. So we'll pop some of the blackberry on there. Okay, and we'll pop a little bit of the wild wheat on here. So that was just the excess ink on there. I'm just going to use a bit of the wild wheat, and again, not necessarily looking for a smooth blend or anything. I'm just looking to add some colour to these leaves. Okay, and for this one, on the original card, I actually used the matching ink to colour the die cut, but I think a little bit of the wild wheat would be nice, just to bring that in again. And again, not looking for anything smooth or anything, just a little brush of ink just to take off that whiteness. Okay, and you get that nice little border. Just make sure you wipe off any excess ink on your die. Fingers will do. Okay, and now we can put things together. Okay, so we've got our pretty leaves, pretty sentiments, and a stamped and embossed card base. Just want to add some ribbon to this, so I've pulled out this Blackberry Bliss and Gold textured ribbon, which we're going to use. So again, I'm going to pop some seal across the back to help me get this into place. And we'll just press that on the back there. And to tie a knot, do a bow if you like, whatever your jam is. Today we're just going to go with a knot. And if it's a little bit loose, I've got a trick for that as well, because my the one I tied around the sample card in that wild wheat ribbon, oh, that's tied okay actually. When I wouldn't have tied it, this was a little bit loose. I still could actually, I might just do it anyway, just to hold that down a little flatter, because the knot puts in some bulk. So if you grab a glue dot and just pop that in underneath as close as you can to where that knot's interfering. Just gonna pop that in under there, it'll just hold it a little flatter for you and no one will ever know. Okay, and then we can trim the ends off once we're done. This is going to go on the card with dimensionals though, just to give it a bit of lift, because why not? There we go. Don't need hundreds of them, just enough to give it some support. The gold card is quite thick, has a quite a, so it'll hold up quite nicely. Voila. And again, this isn't going to be proportional. You're going to have a wider border on the left and right than you are on the top and bottom. So just take your time to try and get that as straight and even as you can. Okay. Oh, isn't that lovely? That gold just makes everything just so lush. Okay, leaves are going on next, and we're just going to use some seal for that. Use the wet glue if you want, but this isn't super textured, so the seal will be just fine. So we're going to have one that's sort of sticking in somewhere down here. So this is where you find you've put your glue dot in the wrong place, which is fine. We can twizzle around it. In fact, we can hook around it like that. But I want that stem to be hidden. If the stems are a problem, cut it off. Okay, but I just want it to overhang this border a little bit, but don't want too much of that stem visible. There we go. So that just brings in just that accent colour there. Okay, and this guy's going to go up here. Okay, that's how we're building that up. And then we want our sentiment across here, so we still get the ribbon showing through and the knots sort of there as little sort of cute little accent. Okay, so what I'm going to actually do is use some of the, you know, the edging strip that you get. So when you've used up your sheet of dimensionals, you end up with this sort of frame around the edge. And this is really good for this kind of thing, because you just get these nice little skinny bits that you can use. Okay, so I'm reckoning that much will be perfect. So I'm going to pop that in along there. To secure this sentiment. It's going to overhang, which again brings everything together in a really cute way, like so. Okay, right, so we can just chop off these tails a little bit. And just make that, sometimes you can sort of turn that inside out a little bit, if you know what I mean, and it'll sit a bit nicer. Okay, and then we just want a I might put a glue dot underneath that just to help that stick down a little bit flatter. There we go. That sits a bit nicer now. So, you know, sometimes you have to just sort of, you know, fix things along the way if things don't sort of sit where you want them to. And then we can just put a few gems on this now. And I think I'll use these purple things. I think technically these are berry burst. Okay, or we could use the gold ones, but I think these have been going to be nice and muted, and we can just use these ones, I think. So I think we'll go with these ones. Just use 3 of those like I do, just to add a bit of interest here and just tie the thing together. Okay, obviously you can choose loads of different embellishments there to suit your project. Okay, but there we go. That is it. How do you like that then? Doesn't that look lovely? It's very moody, isn't it? Okay, I think this would look good in like navy as well, with silver accents. There you go, there's another idea for you. So totally different look from the same card layout. Isn't that like phenomenal how different those cards look? But we've used exactly the same products and techniques to make them. Okay, I'd love to know which one you think is your favourite. It's hard to tell, you know, because this one's very, very autumnal. This one's very out there, but it is my favourite colour. And, you know, tough one. Okay, I'm really pleased with how that turned out. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that there's been a few little tips in there that you may or may not have already thought about you doing. If you do like the video, please do like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Links are in the description to any products that you may want to purchase as a result of watching this video. I'd love to have your business, but obviously if you live elsewhere outside the UK, then you would have to contact a demonstrator in your region. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Do stay safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.